Hello out there, fellow Midori lovers. I have seen a bunch of posts lately that people have been having questions about bullet journaling and talking about how they make bullet journaling work for them, so I wanted to throw my 2 cents in there as well. Bullet journaling, I bought my Midori before I knew what bullet journaling was, and then once I watched the video about bullet journaling, I was instantly in love because I knew that system could work for me. It's perfect for me. I am the queen of to-do lists and sticky notes, which I never seem to be able to keep track of in the first place. So I knew this would work for me. But I bought the Midori and then I found out about bullet journaling, and had that happen the opposite direction, I might not have gotten a Midori. But I'm glad that it didn't go that way. I'm glad I got the Midori first because this is such a beautiful notebook and it's perfect for what I want to do. But in the video, he talks about using just a regular hardbound journal of some kind. Namely the square ruled Moleskine. So I came up with a way to incorporate that into my Midori because this is such a great notebook and it's so versatile, and it ended up being perfect for what I wanted to do. So without further ado, let's get started. I'll show you real quick what I actually have in here. I have my 365/30, some pockets, my bullet journal, my calendar, and then the last notebook is a kind of a permanent list type notebook for me, which I'll get into that in just a little bit. So I kind of have a list over here of things so I don't get too off track. The biggest drawback to bullet journaling for me was not being able to have a future planning system. I needed to have a calendar to write in my shift times at work, or future events like meeting a friend for lunch or something like that, or birthdays. And I know some people have drawn in calendars at the beginning of their bullet journals. That seemed like a lot of work for me, and I definitely needed something a little bit bigger to write my daily things into, and I also liked being able to see the whole week on one spread. So I'll show you that calendar in just a second. The files that I created those calendars in are available in the Midori Traveler's Notebook resources in the docs, or the file section. So those are there for you to download if you'd like. I used to use the ARC planners, and Martha Stewart had these really awesome task pads that had special hole punches on the side so you could just pop them into your notebook. When I ditched the ARC notebooks, I still had these task pads that I couldn't get rid of. So what I've done is I've cut off the edges where the hole punches were and just attached them into here with a binder clip, or I believe some of you people call them bulldog clips, and then just kind of tack this down at the bottom with a paper clip. And I use this for a list that I might not necessarily want to carry around in my bullet journal all the time, like a grocery list. So I can make my list. I can take just that one sheet in the store with me. I don't have to bring the whole notebook in. And then I'll just toss it when I'm done with it. So I like that. Because these Moleskine cahiers are not as big as some of the other notebooks out there, I didn't want to waste paper on something that was disposable. The cahiers are exactly 1/3 of the number of pages as a regular large gridded or lined Moleskine notebook. So you get 3 cahiers in one package, so essentially you're buying the same thing as a regular notebook, just in 3 little smaller notebooks. I found that I can get anywhere from 2 to 5 days on one page in my bullet journal here, so that's going to probably last me about 5 to 6 months. So that works out pretty well. It's not a huge difference, which is what I was worried about in the first place. Am I going to be going through these cahiers like crazy? I don't think so. Basically, I followed the bullet journaling pretty much exactly how he describes it in the video. I have a couple tweaks I use in mine, as everybody else will. Once you figure out how it works best for you, you'll kind of be able to put your own little spin on it. But firstly, I have the index at the front of the notebook. March goes from the pages 2 to page 7. I'm working on my master's program right now with teaching credentials as well, so I had a meeting with my advisor and my financial aid advisor. So the notes from that meeting are on page 4, they're both on the same page, and then April starts on page 8. I believe in the video he describes anytime that you have a whole page dedicated to a certain set of information, he calls that a collection. So that's kind of just how I treated my advisor meetings, as a collection of notes from that meeting. So I can reference it in my index and look at it later if I need to. I started off, like I said, pretty much exactly how he said to do it. I labeled 1 through 31 down the side of one page for March, and I quickly found out that was not going to work for me. As you can see, even just one event takes up almost an entire line, and that just doesn't work for me as far as being able to write in my work schedule and other events and things like that. I don't really have a ton of things I need to plan for, but one line is certainly not enough for it. I have seen some people write 1 through 15 on this side and then 16 through 31 on that side. Or, like I said, they'll hand draw in a calendar, but that's just too much work for me. So I'll show you my workaround for that in just a second. I started this kind of at the very end of March, so I didn't have too many tasks that I needed to complete. The 4 that I put in here, I actually ended up only completing 1 of those, and the other 3 were migrated to the month of April. So the beauty about the bullet journal is you can write down tasks and ideas and events as they come to you on the day that they come to you, and then you can migrate out that information to be completed once you have all your information put in the same place. So, sorry, that was kind of a jumbled up sentence. But basically, you're taking all the information from your day, you're putting it in one spot, and then for me, at the end of the day, I will migrate it out to where it needs to go so that I can efficiently take care of it. So an example would be for taking down some notes. I had my credentialing meeting. I just labeled it credential meeting with my advisor. I took down all the notes I needed to, and then at the end of that meeting, when I was sitting in my car, I set up kind of a to-do list from that meeting of the things I needed to accomplish based on the information my advisor gave me. So I have this open squares for tasks. I had, let's see, 5 tasks I needed to complete coming out of that meeting. 3, looks like 3 of them I've completed, and then 2 of them I migrated to a later time. One of the things he talks about in the video are called signifiers. I use a small arrow right here as a signifier to show that this specific task was placed in my permanent lists book in the back. So because my credential program requires so many things to be done on a list, I have a, let's see, come on, focus, there we go. I have a school to-dos list at the back of my Midori in my list section. So I try not to write things down more than once, but for something as important as getting things checked off my credentialing list, I put them in a master to-do list here. Let's see, on page 11. So I have specific things that I need to complete by the time my master's program is over. It doesn't have to happen today or tomorrow, but at some point in time, I need to take care of these things. Some of them I knew I could work on during the month of April, so I did migrate them to, I migrated these 3 to my master list, but then I specifically migrated this and this to the month of April, which you'll see in just a second. So, like I said, pretty basic. I'm using my phone here on this, so sorry about the fading in and out for focusing. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates worth of notes on this one page. Sometimes I can only fill it up with 2, sometimes I can fill it up with 5. So the beauty of it is, too, that if you don't have anything to write down, you don't need to write anything down, and you're not going to be wasting any pages in a planner. So I didn't have anything going on between the 17th and the 21st, or the 21st to the 25th, so I didn't write anything down. March is kind of boring, so I will show you guys. It really started coming together for me in April, so I will show you that. Like I said, I ditched the monthly calendar at the beginning of the month because I have my calendar in the next section, and I'll show you that. And it just wasn't working for me. So all I did was migrate all of the open tasks from March into April here. So my first page is going to be tasks that I'm hoping to complete in the month of April. So first things on the top, those are the 3 things I migrated over from my credentials. And then everything else were the rest of the tasks that I did not complete during March. Now, these individual tasks can also be migrated out into specific dates. For example, I needed to change my doctor's appointment, and I needed to change it on a specific date so that I didn't get any late change fees. You know how when you have to change or cancel a doctor's appointment, if you do it past a certain time, they'll charge you anyway. So I migrated that specific appointment to, I think, April 3rd here. There it is, yeah, change dermatology appointment. So you can migrate these things out to specific dates, but these are also very fluid, as I will get to them when I get to them if I can. If you have something that you need to have completed by a certain date, go ahead and throw it on your to-do list for that day. So the way that I use my bullet journal in conjunction with my calendar is it's kind of a fluid thing for me. I can migrate things from my bullet journal to my calendar and vice versa if I need to. I will show you guys how I use the events signifier here. So on April 1st, these are all the notes that came to mind to me on April 1st. Notes, events, tasks, everything I thought of on April 1st got written down right here. I want to specifically show you the number 2 here. So Jenna Costco, we were doing a Costco run. If you guys don't know what Costco is, it's this giant warehouse that you can buy bulk items from. And we go there together to buy dog food and then split it up because we have 2 little dogs, but the dog food's really cheap. So on April 1st, Jenna asked me if we could go to Costco on Sunday, April 6th. I said sure. So I put an open circle here. At the end of the day, when I was all done writing all of my tasks down and getting ready to migrate out everything where it needed to go, I went to April 6th and put it in here, Costco with Jenna, okay? Then I went back to my bullet journal and just put a check mark into that circle. So that tells me that this day I recorded that I needed to go to Costco with Jenna on Sunday. I put it in my calendar and then I ticked it off on my list so that I knew that that had been put in the correct spot. The next thing that he also suggests that you can do is you can use bullet points as to mark down ideas. I wanted to find a sewing pattern for an A5 journal cover here. So I just put a bullet mark here so that I could explore it at a later time. Not necessarily something I have a timeline for, but it's just good to be able to look back at the end of the month and say, oh, hey, whatever happened to that sewing pattern I was looking for? You can look it up later. So if you have something that you definitely want to take care of right away, you can put a signifier next to the box, such as an asterisk, which I'll show you I've done as well. Let's see. So for example, today, April 9th, I made this to-do list before I went to bed last night. So I had written down that I had a doctor's appointment at 1 o'clock today in my calendar, so I put it back into my task list for today just to kind of remind me that it was there, but that appointment had already been migrated into my calendar from when I made that appointment weeks ago. I also needed to go to Michael's and Staples to return some stuff, my Moleskine that I'm not using. I had to get ready for class coming up, and I needed to call the insurance company because we're gearing up for the Obamacare stuff, so I put an asterisk next to that because it's very important. So I kind of wanted to show you guys my bullet journaling in action. I would cross off, or I would put a check mark through a doctor's appointment because I've already completed that. I went to Staples. I went to Michael's. I could have migrated these things down to April 9th, but I was just being lazy. So all I did was write get ready for class and then put an arrow up to what I worked on. So I did this one. I did that one. I deposited the money. And then when I was at the doctor's today, I needed to schedule a follow-up appointment. So I put an open circle here, dermatology appointment at 1 o'clock on May 15th. So today, at the end of the day, when I'm all done with my day, I will flip to May 15th. I'll input the doctor's appointment there, and then I will check it off right here. When May 15th rolls around, when I'm preparing for my day, if I feel like adding it back in on my to-do list, I will. If not, I already know I'm going to the doctor's appointment. So I hope that makes sense. The ideas can kind of flow back and forth. I know for sure I have them in my calendar, but the night before, I like to kind of plan out my day for the next day for all of the things, all of the errands that I need to run. So a good example of migrating would be Michael's and Staples. I originally, in my April 4th notes, put down I need to go to Michael's, I need to go to Staples. I didn't get around to it, so I used these 2 arrows to signify that they got moved to another point in time right here. So I hope all of that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask on the comments, or so go ahead and send me a message. But that's kind of how this is working for me, and I hope that this might be something that works for you guys. So once again, bullet journal right here. Very next section is the calendar. So all I have to do is flip back and forth between these 2 things, and that'll kind of give me an idea of what I need to do. So here's right there an example. April 9th. I ran my errands, I had my doctor's appointment, and at 5:30 I'm having my birthday dinner with my mom. So here's my work schedule. All that stuff can be kind of contained in here. All right, I hope that helps you guys, and thanks again for watching. Bye.